My name is Mark. If we haven't met, I'm one of the pastors in the life of the church, and God is doing good things. And what a privilege to be there. Oh, look how good looking you all are. There, I can see now. Look at that. So I've just got back from leave, and it's quite an amazing thing when a lot of people know that you're on leave. You get the question a lot of, how was your holiday? That's the standard question. And I want to go, it was amazing. It was bliss. It was just like, but to be honest, my holiday is more like being a ringmaster at fight night. That's kind of, it's a little bit, probably a better description. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. I've got 3 sons. They are 16, 14, and 12, which means holidays start like this. You ate more of the, what are those cereal? What's OTs? OTs. You had more OTs than me yesterday, so I should get more OT this morning. Or you drive anywhere. I sat in the middle yesterday. What is happening? These are the battles. It's like he got 12 seconds more screen time than me yesterday. It's like that was my puzzle piece to put in. How dare you? This is just a day. Candace is like, she's like the lady that comes with the thing, but more with like no bikini and snacks. She's got snacks. Snacks settles and diffuses and de-escalates everything, but she comes with the snacks until there's another battle. So it's whether you're playing a board game or board games are the biggest family destroyers. I mean, honestly, I'm not going to say whose family it was, but I've seen a 15-year-old daughter sent into the wild in a bush camp. I mean, I don't know. My dad doesn't seem to remember it, but I remember it clearly as my sister was sent out in a game park. Out of the house. We're in a wildfire game park. You can't do that. Get out. Welcome to family dynamics. And my job is sometimes I'm participator. Yes, that is real. And I'm not saying I've got this all down, but it's a little bit like fight night all day. And then it's the big hate and the big love. I don't love you. You must be adopted. And then that's when that's a deep cut. That's like a deep wound that one day will need counseling. But it's not true. And but teenagers, like all of us, have to fight all the time. They're learning to engage in a brotherly, safe environment. And it's actually a safe environment to learn how to engage. But we live in a world where it's not safe. And yet it's Fight Club. People are fighting. I've just driven here. I've watched 2 guys in 2 BMWs have Fight Club on the R27. I was just enjoying my cruise. They were just like, rah, 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 rah. I was late to get across to Century City, and I was at the front of the robot here by Bayside. I thought, I'm at the front of the robot. I can zip across next minute. Checker 60, checker 60, checker 60, checker 5 checker 60s parked in front. I'm like, no, Lord. What are you doing? Do they not know I have to preach the gospel? And we live in this world where conflict and the opportunity for conflict is everywhere, all the time, relentless. It's never going to stop. Countries are at war. Companies are at war. People are at war. People are going to Coldplay concerts. Too soon. Too soon. Last tour. But Jesus says, in this world, and we preach in our mental health series, you will have trouble. Thlipsis, you will have this pressure, this affliction, this distress, and it will look like relational conflict. It's coming. But at the very essence of salvation is I get made right with God and a restoration of my relationship with God, and His grace pours out so that restoration can start happening with my brother. What was the first brokenness outside of Eden? Cain and Abel. I'm not my brother's keeper. First thing that happens, outside of the presence of God, outside, we get this relational chaos. And I want to talk to us today about fight right. How do we fight right? Because the reality is we're going to be in fights. But there's a couple of things. You get to choose the fights you get into. You get to choose how you fight. And as a believer, I'd say to you, don't actually get to choose how to fight. You get to submit and surrender to the Word of God that mandates how we live our lives and how we engage. And that's how the church shines. And the challenge is we get given this ministry of reconciliation, but I'd probably present it's more like a ministry of hard conversations. And not everyone enjoys them and not everyone's good at them. But we live in this AI world. Only 6% of Gen Zs enjoy talking on the phone. 2% FaceTiming. The rest, I'll send you a direct message. I'm offended with you. It doesn't work. But we'll talk a little bit more. But the big idea is that community and the ability to navigate this area of conflict is a huge source of both anxiety but also pain, and it has ramifications for the kingdom of God. We want to talk about that today a little bit as we finished our series. This is Ephesians 4, verse 15. Instead, speaking the truth in love, we will grow to become in every respect the mature body of him who is the head, that is Christ. It's a challenge. There's this challenge that truth without love is harsh. Love without truth is hollow. But when we speak truth in love, God uses it to grow us and to grow the others involved in that conversation. And there's this dynamic of truth with love equals growth. But missing one of them, you miss Jesus entirely. You miss him entirely. The days of standing on the corner with some kind of hold-up poster card going, Jesus hates ... and you fill in the blank, is rubbish. How does it ever represent Christ? Can I also say the days of standing on a mountaintop of your keyboard and fighting for Jesus in the name of justice? He doesn't need the justice you can win for him on your keyboard. He never wins. The kingdom of God never wins with Christians fighting on social media. Sorry, I've never seen it. And I don't think I ever will. He is the King of kings and the Lord of lords. He doesn't need you to defend him. But conflict is inevitable. The healthiest families, they aren't the healthiest families because they have no conflict. They're the healthiest families because they've learned how to deal with it. They've learned their way of engaging with it. The healthiest businesses on no conflict. They found ways of navigating it. The healthiest churches, teams, there will always be conflict. Why? Because our world is broken. It's socially broken, politically broken, sexually broken, financially broken. It's broken. So Paul the Apostle, who was a little bit of a master at conflict, he had a few challenging situations. He faced many tricky situations. This is how he advised the church of Rome. He said, do not repay anyone. Oh, but you don't know what he's done to me, Paul. I don't care. Anyone, do not repay them evil for evil. He says, be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. That's quite a high standard, by the way. Everyone. If it is possible, and we know without God all things are possible, if it is possible, as far as it depends on you. Yes, there is a line, and you cannot traverse some of that, and some of that is dependent on the other person moving towards you. But as far as it is possible, as far as you can go as far as you can go to see the kingdom of God come. As far as it is possible, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, it is mine to avenge, I will repay, said the Lord. To take revenge is to not trust God. That he's the King of kings and Lord of lords, above it all. Said, and the challenge is, Paul isn't saying there's no conflict. He models conflict to us. In the book of Galatians 2, we get the situation where Peter, there's two big dogs. We got Paul the apostle and Peter the apostle. He's a pretty big dog in the kingdom story. And Paul comes and challenges him for his good. Because Peter is getting fearful of the circumcision group. He's backing off. He's starting to not eat with certain people, which is counter the gospel he's been preaching. So Paul steps into the situation, say, not to make a point, to fight for justice. He's fighting for Peter. This is how it goes. It says, when Cephas came to Antioch, that's Peter, it says, I opposed him to his face. I didn't put a Facebook note out about him. I didn't call a town meeting about him. I opposed him to his face. First lesson in learning. Because he stood condemned. I opposed him to his face because he stood. This is for his good. For before certain men came from James, he used to eat with the Gentiles, but when they arrived, he began to draw back and separate himself from the Gentiles because he was afraid of those who belonged to the circumcision group. I'm also afraid of the circumcision group. Anyway, the other Jews joined him in this hypocrisy, so that by their hypocrisy, even Barnabas was led astray. Yeah, sorry. So now I put that image in your head. Come back to me. Come back. Come back. It says, when I saw that they were not acting in line with the truth of the gospel, I said to Cephas, now in front of all of them, because it's not just him he's led his disciples, he's challenging all of them. It says, you are not a Jew, yet you live like a Gentile and not like a Jew. You are a Jew, yet you live like a Gentile, not like a Jew. How is it then that you force Gentiles to follow Jewish customs? Forget the argument that they're having. See the way that he deals with it. Yeah. It says face to face. Then realizes he's influenced a group. He meets them all as a group. And courageously stands. Why? Because they stood condemned for their good. All conflict has the potential of kingdom impact. And every high point in the history of God's people are stories not of fleeing conflict, but of moving toward it. We've just done a whole series on David. What was David about? About an army who feared a guy shouting at them. So they kept walking away for 40 days until a little dude bringing Uber Eats comes and says, hey, who are you to shout at the God of Israel? Let me go sort this guy out, and I'm going to deal with this. Granted, not all conflict should end in a beheading. I'm just saying that's not the point I'm making, just in case you were wondering, like, yeah, Mark's just, no, I'm not. Jesus has got the conflict of religious leaders, the Roman oppression, sin and death itself. He sets his face on Jerusalem, and the cross is the ultimate collision of love and conflict. It's everything. So I want to help us and give us an illustration to lighten the load. I need Keenan up here. He's so good at this. Can we encourage him up here? He's the modern day Matrix. Look at him. But we get people coming to church, and we see it in the church community. I want to demonstrate because it happens and it's real. And maybe it's you today, and you're going, I don't know what to do with the conflict of the person, so the only solution I have is to leave. And so we have the church whirlpool. Let me tell you what it looks like. You know when you all got on a pool in summer and everyone goes in the same direction and the whole pool starts moving? We have a whirlpool in churches in Cape Town, and it's not good for the kingdom of God. Honestly, it's just not good. Now, there's times to leave and there's times to move on, but there's not time to just, it's when that move is happening or you've got the next best friend and you've always got a new best friend, something's wrong. It's the one thing my very first pastor told me. He says, if you've always got the person who's always got a new best friend, you might just be their next ex-best friend. Controversial. But so we get into conflict, and the first way some people respond is the tortoise. It's where you hide away. What does a tortoise do, Keenan? Yes. So it's coming, and Keenan's at church. He's in row 7. He's in his usual seat. But I come. How are you doing, Keenan? I'm fine. Are you sure you're okay, Keenan?
I'm okay.
So he's here, but he's not here because he's hiding. He's in his shell. He's put up every defensive mechanism around him, and you just can't engage him. But he's here. Some people stay like that for years in their marriage. What about the hare? What does the hare do when conflict comes? What does the hare do, Keenan? He just runs. I would have pulled a hamstring if I did that. So that's why I got a younger man to do it. But we just, the first conflict we run, and we've learned it. And you know the problem is most people have never been taught how the Bible calls us and the kingdom calls us to deal with this stuff. So we've watched. And we've watched parents run. First conflict with a boss, I run. And next minute, you've got a career of running from hard bosses. And your only testimony you can tell is hard bosses. You are going to have a hard boss. You're going to. And when I look at the Bible, I think Daniel had a pretty hard boss. I think Joseph had some hard bosses. I think Nehemiah had some hard bosses. What about the snake? When conflict comes, what do? We learn to what? Yes. No, he's coming with a Jackie Chan there for a minute. I don't know what he's doing. But we learn to strike back. We strike. And we go, well, I'm going to get bitten here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to strike first. And I grew up really small. I was really short until the end of high school. And so I learned to use this weapon called a mouth. And I promise you, a 6'5" giant could come at me. I could cut his knees off in 2 seconds with my mouth. Because I could strike, and I knew what was happening. I would strike first. They teach you in boxing, make sure you make the first punch, make it count. It's the same with our mouths, the same with our attitudes, it's the same with everything. We learned it in the church. So what are we going to do? We're going to strike back. I'm not going anywhere. Wow. And then lastly, my personal favorite, the turkey. Give me a good turkey. Here we go. The turkey. So we get big. And come on, get turkey. We get a little bit big with each other. And you get big and I get big. And we're just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger until there's just a world war. Well done, Keenan. Thank you, buddy. And let's be honest, we've all done all of these at some time. Let's just be honest. In our own ways, but we generally defer to one. We generally, and the kingdom says there's a better way and there's too much at stake. The statistics say that it's no different in the church to outside of the church. That's a problem. The ability to do life over a long time together with preferences and all these things is something of a revelation of the glory of God. Because what's at stake first and foremost in our ability to navigate conflict is His glory. Because if I'm always offended, if I'm always posting about how offended I am, if I'm always these things, I'm telling you, God's not getting the glory. And secondly, it's our mandate as believers to reach a world who are watching and saying, but you look no different. You look no different to the coffee conversations. When we're having those coffee conversations at the coffee table at work, you sound just as slanderous as everyone else. Then you want me to come worship your God? And you got Matthew 5, Jesus teaching us, says, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God. Not the peacekeepers, but also not the street fighters. And Christians sometimes fall in the street fighter category. We're going to fight the world in the name of Jesus. And Jesus is going, I'm not sure I know you. Secondly, and more in that, is this fight for justice. And everyone's on about justice, and I'm going to get my justice. No, when justice means nothing when we lose Jesus in the process. I'm telling you. The justice, and the only justice I need for eternity, is that my Christ rose again. And his blood touched my life. And my eternity is secure in him. We've got to settle something. We've got to be prepared to lay things down. But I want to tell you, unresolved conflict has a number of effects. I just want to mention 3. And by unresolved conflict, I don't just mean conflict that tried to be resolved that didn't happen. Most of the time, it's the conflict that never happened. Because we've kept it inside like some sort of sickness that we keep inside of us. And we just don't know how to have the conversation. Sat with a young man recently, and he's an apprentice, and he should be earning a salary now, but all he has to do is have a conversation with the boss. He just won't book the meeting. Why? Because it might not go well. Welcome to life. There are conversations that might not go well. I got the biggest promotion of my life back many years ago, but the promotion involved to work on a brand that had a sexual undertone in their marketing strategy, and I said to my wife, I can't do that. So I went to the managing director. I said, I will take the job, but you're going to have to allow me to change the strategies. Like, we are multinational, and that strategy comes from foreign countries. I don't care. You know what he did? He gave me the job. We changed the strategy, and God honored it. In real results in a company. Honor God, he will always have his glory. Unresolved conflict damages relationship and breeds division. House divided against itself cannot stand. Mark 3:25. Can I pick on husbands and wives just for a second? In the nicest way. I've done 24 years of pastoral care. I've seen many things thrown across my office and or lounge as husbands and wives fight. But you know what I've often seen is for the first time, they tell each other things in my house. I'm going, go tell each other at home. Why are we on the brink of divorce and you've never had this conversation? How is it that you've never had this conversation, but you're talking divorce? How is that even possible? Because I remember your vows, and I can go bring them up on my laptop because I did your wedding and said for better or worse, for richer or poorer. We should put in one when we want to talk or don't want to. But you've got to find courage. And I'm telling you, maybe you're here in the room and you've been married for 40 years, but there's a conversation you haven't had for 30. It is stealing from you and it is stealing from your marriage. And just thinking because you covered it up, somehow things are better. They're not better. They're just festering. You've got to find your courage. You've got to find your voice. You've got to find conviction. And yes, I am quick with my words, and I trust God has redeemed my tongue, and it's still very much a process. But my wife is not so quick with her words. So I know I'm in trouble when I get a letter. Starts like this. My dearest Mark. That's like cut to the heart, like cut in half. I know I'm in trouble then. Like that's just like, we've got to find our way of communicating and then sit down. We've got to find with the conviction that conflict doesn't have to end badly and there doesn't have to be the beheading of Goliath. There can be life. But there's 3 conversations. Marriages, they have many conversations. They have conversations like, what should we eat for dinner? Who's picking up the kids? Where should we go on holiday? We have those conversations. You know conversations marriages don't have? And you're going to have them tonight. Those uncomfortable conversations. Number 1, money. Money. Sorry, and if you've got separate bank accounts, that's fine, as long as you're both aware of the journey you're on. And it's not the separate life financially that you live because you saw a bad case happen to your parents. So you think the safeguard is to put this separate lives financial story. Stop it. Bible said he made 2 one. That's called marriage. Anything other than that is not marriage. Years ago, my wife and I got invited or asked to step into a marriage that was in trouble. 2.5 hours on a Saturday listening. And the fight was this. The house was in disrepair, but he was saying there was no money. She desperately wanted a really nice kitchen for her family. That was her love language. She wanted to feed her family. That was amazing. But I had to sit with her inside and say, well, if there's no money, there's no money. I'm not looking at your bank accounts. Fast forward 2 weeks. I'm playing golf with the same brother. First tee, Durban Country Club. He rocks up with a brand new set of Titleist golf clubs, with a shiny new bag and a new driver that I just happen to know will cost a lot of money, kind of like the money it would cost to build a kitchen. I'm on the front first tee, and I don't know if you know me, but I'm not someone to just hang back. So we haven't even hit one shot. And I say, tell me about the clubs. I'm hoping he says a work incentive. I'm hoping he says someone just blessed me. He says, actually, these are the clubs I keep at my work, and I've got another set at home. Like a cheeky smile. I nearly took his head off. On the first tee, the whole tee box delayed everyone. I tore into him about wasting my time and actually taking on his marriage to a trajectory of chaos. Money. What about future? When last do you sit down and say, where are we going in life? What's God called us to? Everyone wants a purpose. If you don't know what the purpose of your marriage is, and you're just moving forward, I'm telling you, there are unmet expectations. And lastly, sex. Just want to make you feel uncomfortable. I honestly believe, and I don't care that the young people in the room, I honestly believe Christians should have the best sex lives in the world. I believe it with everything inside of me. Why? Because we live the design. We live the design. But I'm sitting in too many meetings where couples haven't spoken about it, and they're making love once every 6 months, and I'm telling you it's not healthy. I'm telling you. I'm not talking about if there are issues physically or something like that. I'm talking about general life, young couples who are not engaging in intercourse. Let's go there. And I honestly believe it's the tactic of the enemy to keep us quiet. Talk about it. Sit down and say, I have a desire for more. I have a desire to love you in an intimate way more. It's not just about more. It's about intimacy. It's fighting for our marriage. This is good for me. Some of you like, just move on. See, you can pretend everything is fine, but silence doesn't heal. Silence heals nothing. It just hardens. Avoidance builds walls, not bridges. Builds walls, and they build strong over time. And eventually they're very hard to get over. Fight now for truth. Have difficult conversations. Friendships drift and marriages go cold and people get churches and a new one and a new one and new friends and new. It's time to stop letting the enemy have a field day. Unresolved conflict blocks spiritual growth and grieves the Holy Spirit. How do I know? Well, because Jesus is teaching us about how to worship in Matthew 5. And he says this. He says, so if you are offering your gift at the altar, you're worshiping. If you're offering your gift at the altar, and there remember that your brother has something against you. This is Jesus, so this is the good stuff. Leave your gift there before the altar and go. First be reconciled to your brother, then come and offer your gift. Reconciliation takes priority over worship according to Jesus. I preached this 8 years ago in May 2018, something of this. And one gentleman in our church on the Tuesday got on a plane to Johannesburg and met a brother they hadn't seen in 30 years. They had 2 hours together, they reconciled their relationship, and he flew back down. Some of you need to get on a plane. Some of you need to get in a car and go sit next to someone who's on their deathbed because you think death will bring an ending. It won't. You need to find peace. You need to allow the Spirit of God to come into relationships. And I'm talking siblings. I'm talking ex-colleagues. I'm talking relationships that have hurt you. And if you're still walking with pain, you are part of the healing process. Start the journey. Because the real world results are stunted spiritual growth, a dry faith, and a divided heart. It's just what happens. And unresolved conflict weakens our witness and hinders kingdom advancement. Well, Jesus tells us, John 13, by this everyone will know that you are my disciples, that we have love for one another. It's the way we love one another. It's the way we get over our prejudices. We get over our preferences. We get through and past our differences. We navigate. That is a demonstration of Jesus in the midst. So I want to teach you one thing, and I'm doing it very selfishly because it's going to save me many hours of counseling, because it's the one thing I use in 95% of counseling meetings. Are you with me? You ready to help me? Say this with me with conviction. Lose. Okay, that's had no conviction. Say lose to win. Okay, let's say it again. Lose to win. Let's say it all together now. Lose to win. I honestly believe it is God's redefining of winning. The gospel redefines winning. The gospel says most people approach conflict with this goal. I want to be right. I want to win. And the gospel comes and flips that upside down. Jesus says, I don't win by overpowering my enemies. I win. And he wins by laying down his rights at that cross. It totally flips every economy on its head of what it means to win. The gospel life, this life, the Jesus life, is a lose to win life. You're going to lose. You're going to keep losing. You're going to lose a lot. But eternity's long. I want to honor my friend over there who spoke at his dad's funeral 3 weeks ago. It was one of the most honest moments at a funeral I've ever seen. Honestly. I've seen so many lies at funerals. Being brutally honest. People lie. They were so nice and perfect and everything, but they didn't speak for 12 years before the funeral. But my friend got up and he was honest about his dad's life and some challenges and some failings, but how God brought restoration and healing. Because there's got to be a losing. You've got to lay some stuff down. Some of you are still holding on to things of relationships and spouses and parents from 40 years ago, and they're still alive. Get on a plane. Fix it. Be a part of the solution. The cross is the ultimate lose to win moment. Philippians 2, in your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as of Christ Jesus. He humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. He came to that cross. You know what the most amazing thing about that cross? We go into every battle and we tight-fisted. We tight-fisted. We want to fight. You see someone when they're getting ready for a fight. You see their fist doing this and they're getting ready to throw a punch. What did Jesus do? He opened his hand. Maybe even now. There's a relationship. You've got to open your hand. And you know what? A nail might go through it. But God will get the glory, and you will look more like Jesus than you ever have before. Open your hand. Someone wanting to steal from you? What if you opened your hand and you trusted God? I'm being serious. Jesus didn't cling to being right. He chose to make us right with God. He made that choice. He said, I'm choosing to make the wrong right before God. They can never do it on their own. And I'm choosing to make them right. He didn't cling to anything. Take the first step forward, even when the other person is 99% wrong. Take the step forward. Secondly, lose pride to win peace. The Bible says God opposes the proud. He gives grace to the humble. He opposes the proud. Proverbs 13 verse 10. Pride leads to conflict. Pride leads to conflict. Those who take advice are wise. To live in peace, you're going to have to lose. You might have to lose the last word. You might have to lose defensiveness. You might have to lose your good look. You might have to lose your ability to prove yourself. But humility may look like weakness in this world, but it's literally when the kingdom wins. When we choose humility, that's when the kingdom, and I've failed 100 times, and I have to get back on my knees and say, God, I'm so sorry. I want to come back. I want to be more like you, Jesus. But every one of us have been on a journey. And lastly, lose offense to win reconciliation. He's given us this ministry. It's the ministry we've been given. This world is so offendable. The church is so easily offended. Maybe you are, sir. You're finding yourself constantly fighting. Let me help you. You know what you're allowed to do? You're allowed to turn the blue tick off on your phone. I did it 6 years ago. Don't tell anyone. It's just between us. Just between us. I don't know when you've read my message. You don't know when I've read yours. And that way, I'm cool. You're allowed. You're allowed to make yourself less offendable and less easily offended. You're allowed to. Settle yourself. I'm going to drive here, and I'm quite a fiery cat. I don't like being cut off in traffic, and I'm preaching twice to myself this morning already. So these guys are cutting me off, and I'm thinking, oh, that's fine. Gee, that's different. No, well, it's fine. I'm not the judge of their story. Neither are you. Some of you are so eaten up by people you've never met, you don't even like, they don't know who you are, but you are so eaten up by their actions. You are so offended, you've given so much emotional capacity to it that you wonder why you don't have the capacity to love and be loved. And it's got to stop. It's got to stop. Get off social media. Honestly, get off. I'm not at war with social media. I'm at war with people whose spirits are at war and don't need to be. But what does it mean in terms of losing offense with spouses? Some of you are still offended by actions of your spouse 30 years ago, 20 years, and you've put them in some storage lock that one day you're going to bring out. Maybe one day, if they just step out of line, I'll bring that thing up. Stop it. You're partnering with the enemy. Can I give you a few conflict 101 points? Quick and fast. Are you ready? Number one, be quick out of the blocks. What do I mean? I mean, bring the elephant in the room out. Talk about it. Talk about it. I know some of you haven't had a raise in 3 years, and the only reason is because you're not prepared to go speak to your boss. And God is more interested in the development of your character and the growth of your courage to overcome fear than he is about another 5%, 10%. Honestly. Find courage. Confidence. There's this, I said it, I think earlier, that this lie that time heals. People tell it every funeral. They tell this lie every funeral. Time heals. Time heals nothing. A healer heals. So when your wife says to you, we need to talk, find courage to talk. Now, let me explain how timing is part of honoring the other person. Please don't do this. You've had a great evening together, meal, but you know there's a conversation. You're about to go to bed, and you roll over to your spouse and say, love you, honey. Can we talk on Thursday about something? No! No! People do it all the time to me. I have an issue that, and they message me on Sunday night. Everyone wants to message me on Sunday. I know, because God does stuff on Sundays. So obviously I'm awake all Sunday night. And I'm just challenged by something. Can I come and meet you in 2 weeks' time? No, you can't. You can speak to me now. Why? Because I'm going to lose sleep about your thing. And we've got to learn. We've got to honor the other person in timing. Choose the right time. Don't message you've been together the whole weekend. You've had Friday night dinner. You've been walking in the park on Saturday, Sunday together. And then you message your spouse at 10 o'clock on Monday when they're going into the biggest meeting for the month at 11 o'clock. And you go, I'm really disappointed in you. Like, come on. It's manipulation. It's not actually a desire for reconciliation. It's not. It's manipulation. Follow the biblical process. Let me help you. There's a biblical process. And people go, how do you know? Well, I read the Bible. It's in there. That's why it's called a biblical process. Matthew 18. I thought that was funnier. Sorry. If your brother sins, some translation against you, go and point out their faults just between the two of you. Just the two of us. Building castles. No, I don't think that's how it goes. Just the two of you. Now, I know that takes courage. I know that does. I know it takes conviction. But find conviction in the Word about how God can redeem when there's courageous conversations. And go look at the Bible and look for the courageous conversations. They're everywhere. Nehemiah wanted to save a city. You know what his courageous conversation? He had to go to the king of a foreign nation who was his boss. He didn't know what the response would be. You know what he got? Take all the time you need. What resources do you need? How do I protect you on your journey? If they listen to you, you have won them over. That's the kind of winning that we're designed for. But if they do not listen, take one or two others along, so that every matter may be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. So you bring it to a slightly bigger group. So there's no wildfire gossip. It's a contained space where there's for the benefit and the blessing of the relationship. And you navigate it there. And you get the wisdom of others to maybe diffuse and speak into and bring light. It's God's strategy. It says if they still refuse to listen, tell it to the church. And if they refuse to listen even to the church, treat them as you would a pagan or a tax collector, which means have nothing to do with them. I don't think Jesus is celebrating that. But the problem is, this is how the world does conflict. If your brother sins against you, treat them as a pagan or a tax collector. Have nothing to do with them. Just takes out all those lines. And he says, no, there's a whole bunch of steps. It's important that we follow the steps to see the fruit. Take ownership of your stuff. Stop self-justifying. Your pain, your thirst, yes, all of that. Take that to Jesus, get healed so that healing can come. We've all had to do this. I've been in the church. I've been offended most in my life, not in my 10 years in corporate marketplace, not when I had my own business before that, not by family, in the church. But I've got healed in that same church. I've got invested in that same church. Listen. Learn to listen. It's been a journey. Maybe you're really good at it, and that's wonderful. Then maybe you need to learn to speak. I find that people who are naturally good at listening aren't always good at speaking. But often the people who are good at speaking aren't good at listening. And we all got to learn. So the mountains can be laid low. So the valleys can be lifted up. So the glory of God can come. My life, for most of my life, has been a case of God having to deal with mountains. I'm a mountain man. I'm good in the mountains. But for the last few years, it's been God dealing with the valleys. Teaching me also, He's the one who lifts you up when you're low. Speak truth in love, that was mentioned earlier. And if you learn to disagree without being disagreeable, it's called wisdom. So disagree. I just want to fight. I haven't even started the conversation. I want to fight you. No, that's the way of the world. That's not the way of God. It's not the way that brings Jesus glory and honor. And I'm telling you, I am most like Jesus, and so are you, so am I, when you're making peace. But making peace doesn't mean never being honest. The number one way to make peace is to be honest. Husbands and wives, get honest. Get honest. And the statistics would say men and women are running to pornography, and they're running to all sorts of other things. And we joke about the Coldplay incident, but it's put the fear of God into 1 million people around the world right now who are in the midst of chaos and pursuing chaos. And if they would just surrender to the living God and get honest in their marriages. This is one of the most gentle people I've ever met, is my wife. It's not necessarily always the word that's been used for me. But God's had to teach me how to walk with a gentle bride, sometimes broken bride. And sometimes my honest language had to be tempered and toned and timed so that there could be fruit. Because this is the one person I've married for life. This is the person I will make love to for my life. This is the person that will navigate highs and lows together. That will be in seasons of plenty and seasons of little. This is the person. And if you're divorced in the room, I'm not speaking any condemnation of you at all. But I'm telling you, in my story, that's the person. And when I get to heaven, God won't ask me, how many times did you preach? And how many people got saved? And how many buildings? And how many? He won't care. The first and the only question He will ask me, I believe, is, how did you look after my daughter? I'm telling you. Before my kids, before anything. That's what He's going to ask me. And I think He'll listen for a long time. Can you stand with me? Win to lose. Lose to win. Just checking. Lose to win. Can you close your eyes just for a moment? Are you at war, sir? Are you at war, ma'am? Are you at war in your marriage? Are you at war in your family? Are you at war with your colleagues? No one recognizes your gifting. No one sees the work you do. I've got one question for you. Are you prepared to lose even more so that Jesus can get all the glory? And one day, when you stand before him in eternity and he says, son, that was so, hey, that was tough. That business situation where someone stole from you there, that was tough. But you trusted me. You held on to me. Husbands and wives, will you take each other's hand now for a moment, please, if you're in the room? I've got such a burden to fight for the thriving of marriages, not just the surviving. The day you said yes to one person, you put a target on your back to an enemy who wants to bring chaos. And it's time to fight. And I'll tell you how you fight. You start in your marriage. You start there. You fight for life. You speak words of life. And you speak words of honesty. And you speak about your future, and you speak about your money, and you speak about your sex life, and you speak, and you communicate, and you find ways to communicate. And I've had men say to me, but you don't have my wife. And I say to them back, sir, you don't have mine. It doesn't actually matter. All that matters is the glory of the living God. All that matters is that your marriage is designed and made to be a sign and wonder to a watching world, and they are desperately, desperately, desperately seeking a sign and a wonder pointing to a living God. And it's time to allow His grace. It's time to, in having those tough conversations, maybe some of the marriages 20, 30 years deep, needing to pivot, needing to find new language, needing to find new ways, needing to find new purpose as the kids are stepping out and into their own space. I pray, God, your grace. I pray your tenderness. I pray your glory and your peace over marriages, your peace over homes, your peace in marketplaces, your peace in this world, your peace in places of politics and education. Your peace, God, because your people are there. The peacemakers, the sons and daughters of the living God, the peacemakers, the ones carrying the presence of God, the peacemakers, the ones who live with conviction about being honest, the peacemakers. Come, Spirit of God, mature your church and bring glory to the King who reigns.